Guys, you are going to be shocked by the auction results. Wait till you see what we have for you guys tonight. This is Bid Nerds. We've got a special guest tonight. That's right, real experts on the show. This is Bid Nerds. The bidding starts now. Bid Nerds is your YouTube card game show. All right, everybody, welcome to Bid Nerds. My name is John Polnick, and we are coming to you live from the Container Park in downtown Las Vegas, as well as my partner, Michael Deeb, way over on the far side of the screen in San Francisco. And then in the middle tonight, we have a very special guest. We have Casey the Car Guy, Casey Putsch. Welcome to
Casey.
Bid Nerds. What's going on,
Thanks,
buddy?
guys.
Casey, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the Pacific time zone. Thanks for staying up past your bedtime. This is going to be fun, man. We're excited to have you on. Real car guy.
All right, guys. If you are new to the show, you're here because of Casey. You're going, who are these nerds that he's hanging out with? What do we do on the show? We analyze listings from Bring a Trailer, Cars and Bids, P-Car Market, sometimes some other auction sites. We analyze those listings for you, and then you can play along with us when we guess what will happen as a result of those listings at Hammer. So it's like a game show. Play along. Let's get to it. Michael Deeb, the first thing we always do on every single episode is start by going over our predictions from the last episode. That's right, Casey, we hold ourselves accountable. That's weird on the internet, but we're sticking with it. Let's try it out. All right, Dee, what was the first car on the list?
JP, we started off the show last time with a dream spec Porsche 964. As a premium listing on Bring a Trailer was this 1990 Porsche 911 Carrera 4 Leichtbau. This was a very, very rare, not even really a homologation special. Apparently they had some leftover parts from a very special project and decided to construct 22 lightweight four-wheel drive 964 cars, either to race or for the Extreme Track Day Hero. Gosh, JP, isn't it hard to imagine that this car is like 35 years old now? But very, very rare. And our particular car is here in the United States on a clean Illinois title. I believe, and somebody in the nerd herd can correct me if I'm wrong, none of these 22 cars were sold new to the United States. I believe that is a fact. I don't think these cars really have cats. But our particular car, John, has just 329 miles from new. It had come to our attention that this car had run earlier in the year in Monterey, I believe, with Gooding, where the car was in the live action during Car Week. And at that time, the car failed to sell at $600,000. According to our friends at Classic.com, these cars should bring at least $700,000 in the secondary market. Thus, the value for this particular car already being in the United States and having an incredibly low odometer, one would think that a car like this could ring the bell for $800,000 or more. The question, JP, was would these sort of, in my opinion, half-assed assets on as a premium listing on Bring a Trailer do well with the second bite of the apple in just a couple of months as it ran here, kind of in this tweener period in the collector car industry. JP, with all of that stuff in mind, I did not think this car would do very much better than it fared in Monterey. My bid for this car, when it would hammer, would be just $615,000, where I was sure it wouldn't sell. John, you took the under. Your bid coming in a little bit underneath mine at $596,400. And Tim Neely joined us as third nerd. He popped in remote. He was a great guest. Tim came in just above me at $635,000. So, Casey, question. Are you a Porsche enough nerd to remember or have heard of the C4 Leichtbau, one of the rarest of the rare models of the 964 ever? And what do you think this super low-mile car would have done on BAT, having just recently failed to sell in Monterey at $600,000? What's your feeling on this car, and what do you think it hammered for? Throw a number at it if you don't mind.
I am that big a nerd, but I tend to like the prototype stuff from the late 60s, early 70s. You know, the trouble with Bring a Trailer, after Monterey, people see that, and the Porsche nerds, you know how we all are. We look at numbers. I'm going to go lower, guys. I think it's going to have a hard time cracking 500 on Bring a Trailer after it only hit like, what did you say, 600 at Monterey?
600 even at Monterey.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's gonna have a hard time cracking $500,000 on Bring a Trailer.
$500,000. Okay, so 500,000 is your bid. Casey, welcome to the show. That would be your first win. Our car doing and performing exactly as Casey predicted. One would wonder if he already saw the result. This is so good. Our car hammered at just $470,000, where it failed to sell on just 16 bids. JP, I honestly believe that the true value for this car, if you can find the guy that understands what it is and has the green bucks to part with, is going to be north of $800,000. Our car basically failed to get within 50% of that number, really. So the big question, John, is, was this just a failure on the part of the owner or whoever the owner trusts, bringing the car right back to BAT in the shadow, in the aftermath? Like this car was just detailed after coming home from Monterey and then thrust right back in front of the camera for assets. By the way, these assets are terrible. John, I personally think that a car like this should have been stowed away and brought back out, either to, like Luftgekocht or, give me Amelia Island in March, but coming right back to market on BAT. I'm not surprised by this result. Casey's thought process tracked correctly. What do you think, JP? You agree with that? Just too soon to come back with such a rare car?
I just don't think that this car is ever really going to catch on. Not enough people really know what it is. And really, the biggest problem with this thing is that it's a race car. It's a full-blown race car with a full race cage. And, people like to collect cars that they can actually drive, even if they don't. Clearly, this car was only driven 500 miles in its life, which is an absolute shame. But unless the car has a provenance, has won some particular race, people don't seem to really want to spend the big bucks on a race car. And we've seen it numerous times over and over again. Full race cage cars, no matter how rare, just aren't bringing the big bucks. Chris Carbine says this has to be $1 million car one day somewhere. And yeah, I mean, inflation is terrible right now. So I think it could be $1 million car in a couple of weeks, the way things are going. But Casey, what do you think of the results of that auction?
I think the problem was putting it on BAT so quickly after. Now, that's no fault of Bring It Trailers, but
No.
People are going to see the results at Monterey. They're not going to beat that. And here's the other thing we're forgetting. When you put it in an auction, you have to have two guys ready to fight and not miss out to go for the big numbers. You only have one, guess what? You're not going to get that big number. So it was the wrong move.
A lot of people in the comments are mentioning that this car is going to be really difficult to get emissions done in, places like California. How crazy is that people, I mean, who cares on a car like this? But I think that may have actually affected the results because a lot of people in the comments were talking about that.
That goes back to your race car, analogy, JP. If this is a 964 RS, whatever, RN Macau, and it's got a cat, it's got, standard seats and carpet, I think that easily the car gets crazy, crazy money if they're only built 22 of them. But for the same reason that you said that people shy away from race cars, it's the same thing underneath the car that you couldn't even road register this in a few of the states that still sniff. In California, there's a lot of money and a lot of collectors here. You eliminate that crowd almost entirely. So,
and that's the only place that has weather good enough for it right now. All right, guys, what do you think of the results of the Leichtbau? We aren't going to cover another one of these for a while. It seems like we cover every single one when they come up, and that's maybe next year. All right, guys, let us know what you think. Let's move on. What's the next car on the list?
All right, JP, there was a 1987 Mazda RX-7 Turbo II running no reserve on Cars and Bids, Doug DeMiro's site. It had come to light, thanks to the bid turn, Lucas, we love you, that this car had just previously run on Bring a Trailer, and the seller of the car and the audience of the car got into some sort of little pissing contest and bickering match, and the seller decided to take his ball and go down to the lower yard in the schoolyard, JP. He delisted it with Bring a Trailer and did not let this car go to Hammer. Car pops up a couple of weeks later, running no reserve on Cars and Bids. JP, this car caught my eye because it's bone stock and has just 40,000 miles on the odometer on a clean Washington title up there in your old haunt. I like the car, JP. We don't see this generation of the RX-7 come to light very often, and when they do, they sure as hell don't look as nice as this one. So the recent previous history of this car is interesting, and would it negatively affect the ultimate result of a nice, clean stock example with low miles, running no reserve on the other website, Cars and Bids? John, Classic.com tells us that the average selling price of a Turbo II with a stick shift is only $21,000. I still thought this car had a chance to reach 20. JP, you took the under at $19,007. And Tim Neely, good sport that he is, joined us as third nerd on the last show. Tim took the real estate under you, JP, at $16,500. So, Casey, thumbs up or thumbs down on rotary power? And what do you think this little vintage, sort of Radwood spec car would have done on Doug DeMiro's site, having run no reserve?
Well, I think it's a cool car. I like a Porsche 944 Turbo, but that's my taste. I'm going to say $17,000.
There we go. This guy, make sure he never gets invited back. JP, $18,850. Actually, John, you were closer, so Casey doesn't get this win, but Casey's in the hunt. $18,850 where it's sold on 31 bids. John, at 19 grand, let's just call it 19 grand. I think that's a very fair number. I'd say it's well sold, and I'd say it is also well bought. For less than 20 to get kind of a fun car. I know JP will argue that rotaries are ridiculously high mileage when it comes to engine rebuilds, but that seems like a lot of fun and a great entry point for somebody new to the vintage car genre. This is a great jumping off point. It's a user-friendly car. I think it would get a lot of attention at your favorite Cars and Coffee and probably be a lot of fun to drive. So well sold and well bought. JP, what's your take on that hammer?
This car should have stayed on BAT. I don't believe the guy. I don't think your analysis was entirely accurate. I don't think he pulled the car. I think BAT kicked him off. And so I think if he had, and when you look at how he interacted with folks on his auction here in the comment section on Cars and Bids, he spent a lot of time protesting, saying how awful people and the audience and the buyers were on BAT. He spent a lot of time letting everyone know that even though him and his brother had just bought the car, that he wasn't a flipper, and he must have mentioned that, I don't know, 4 or 5 times. It was just kind of like, much ado, buddy. I think you need to shut the heck up. Sometimes you need to just let the car do its thing. I think this car could have been a $40,000 car, Deeb, if it would have stayed on BAT and he would have shut his damn mouth. This is a really, look, we see a lot of these young timer JDM Japanese sports cars. Usually a car like this one has a gajillion miles on it, but 40,000 original miles, we never see these this clean. This car really had a shot at doing something spectacular. The seller was ultimately happy that the car did sell at that number, but I think he left a lot of money on the table by keeping his mouth open. Casey, what do you think of this result?
I think it makes sense. Doug DeMuro's got a good site, but I think that's a realistic number. If that was my car, I would have been disappointed having only sold it for that much money, especially going through the heartache of getting bounced off or leaving, bring a trailer to then have to do it on another auction site, to no fault of either one of those. But I think what's so cool about this car is it's unmolested. It's aged well. Yeah. It's attractive color combinations. Obviously, we've got kind of a maroon velour, but that was something of the time. So if you just want to go back to nostalgia, feel like you got that car your cool neighbor drove home when you were a kid, that's your ride, man. So how do you go wrong for less than 20 grand?
Yeah, I think so. Well bought.
Definitely well bought. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments. All right, Deeb, let's move it along. We got a lot of cars to cover. Let's see if we can pick up the pace. What do we got next?
JP, we covered a car on P-Car Market. Let's circle back to the 1975 Porsche 911 Targa wide body conversion and motor swap. This 75 911 Targa would be smog exempt in California, JP. They took out the 2.7 and threw a 3-liter in there. Still has a 5-speed manual, but then they grafted on correct turbo steel flares at all 4 corners. And JP, I even spot Euro bumperettes on the back of the car. An attractive build, to be sure, but then the car comes to P-Car Market, and like The Rock, JP, you have to raise one eyebrow and go, what the hell is going on here? We would always wonder aloud if a car that comes to P-Car Market, cool or otherwise, has a chance to actually sell at Hammer, or if it is just, as Anthony Vieira says, destined for the deal tank marketplace, as they call it today, because P-Car Market has trained their audience not to bid, but rather to be patient and wait and see if they can negotiate a deal out of the deal tank post-Hammer. John, our friends at Classic.com tell us that a base 75 mid-year Targa, non-S, is just a $54,000 car. How much value would you add for the steel flares and a 3-liter upgrade? I thought this car had a chance to hammer at $65,000, but that it would wind up in the deal tank for over 80 grand. JP, you took the under at 59,911, and Tim Neely joined us as third nerd on the last show. Tim taking the real estate above me at $72,500. So, Casey, what do you think of the turbo look Targa with a 3-liter upgrade, but running on the very suspect P-Car Market? Where are you at on the car? Where are you at on the platform? And give us a number real quick.
It's an interesting style for a custom. I don't dislike it, but it's a unique taste, and it is different. So there's some value to that if you don't want to be like everybody else. It doesn't look like it's any spring chicken underneath. Well,
I'm going to throw this out there, Casey, before you throw a number at it, just so you know, too, there's a couple other things that kind of happened in this auction. One, the seller was asked numerous times if the AC worked, and he answered numerous times that it, in fact, did. Also, the engine was rebuilt recently on this car to the tune of 35 grand. We didn't really talk about that when we made our prediction last time, but this car does have a fresh engine. Yeah, it looks pretty ugly underneath, but apparently there's a receipt that claims that the engine was completely rebuilt to the tune of 35 grand. So with that information at hand, what do you think?
I don't believe it based on what I saw in the pictures. I'm going to say 65.
Yeah.
65 grand.
Well,
okay.
Yeah. And again, it's just P-Car Market has really trained their audience to just keep their mouth shut. Our car hammered for just $41,911, where it failed to sell on only 11 bids. But the car remains available in the deal tank, the marketplace, for an asking price of $82,000, which is in line with what I thought. I expected them to be asking 85 grand for the car that we see here. JP, this is just run of the mill for P-Car Market.
Yeah, this is standard operating procedure for these guys.
Yeah,
here it is. Here's
no
the engine bay. Yeah. You can see there's no air conditioning pump. So no, the air conditioning does not work. He ultimately did admit that the car doesn't in fact have AC later towards the end of the auction. That? Well, he's like, it had a blue switch, so I thought it had AC. You're clearly not dealing with a Porsche guy here.
You're also losing all your credibility quickly.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you. Exactly. That's my point. And this is supposed to be P-Car Market. This is supposed to be for Porsche people, by Porsche people, and nothing. This is just another example of P-Car Market wasting everyone's time. And $80-something thousand. What do they want in the chum bucket for this thing? 80 what?
82
grand. Guy, you can get a real M491 for almost that amount of money. Maybe even for that amount of money. What were you going to say, Casey?
I hate to ask this question, but is P-Car Market a good place to sell any Porsche?
Yeah, just watch a couple episodes of our show and we can answer that question. The answer is no, in our opinion, and just search P-Car Market and Bid Nerds on our channel, and you can see some of the crazy shenanigans that those guys have pulled over the years. It is our recommendation that if you are in the market for or selling a car, that you avoid P-Car Market. But again, that's our opinion.
Be careful.
It's like there are opportunities there, but they are not very transparent. Let's just put it that way.
And 40-some grand for that car makes a lot of sense based on everything we just saw. And if they're asking 80, I was saying 60-something. That might be what maybe he gets lucky and finds the guy, and that's where they come in the middle. You never know.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wick says, no, it has a electric AC, and no, it doesn't. Doesn't even have that.
Come on.
Sorry, buddy. All right, let's move on. What do you guys think of the results of that Targa? We got lots of cars. What's next, Deeb?
All right, JP, we're going to take a quick look at a 2003 Honda S2000 running no reserve on Bring a Trailer with just 42,000 miles from new. This car is largely unmolested. They did switch out the little Honda badges to make it look like a Type R from Japan, which would be really cool. But this is a no-nonsense AP1 in an attractive colorway of Sebring silver with a full red leather interior. JP, our friends at Classic.com tell us that AP1s typically sell for $28,000. I thought this car being pretty clean, having a fair odometer, had a chance to do a little bit better than that. I thought it would come in at 30 grand. JP, you took the under at 29, and Tim Neely joined us as third nerd on the last show. His bid just 1,000 under you at 28. So, Casey, any love for AP1 or AP2? I happen to be a big fan of the S2000, and one of my best friends in the whole wide world has a car that looks exactly like this, which is why it was kind of fun to choose this one. What do you think of this car, and what do you think it would have hammered for running no reserve on BAT, but kind of going into the fall when everybody's sort of getting off convertibles? Where you at?
I think it's a fine car. I love the way they shift. I love the red line. I like the way they feel. They're kind of knife edgy. The only reason I don't have one is I'm a Viper guy, so I like V10s, kind of rumbling. Yeah. It's like a P51 Mustang version of an S2000. I'm going to be conservative again. I'm going to say the thing hits like 26.5.
26.5. And look, that's not a bad guess. I think you're kind of in the hunt, especially when you consider the time of year. But JP got out his Miss Chloe outfit, nailed himself a Yahtzee. Our car hammering for exactly JP's bid at $29,000. Where it's sold, JP, this is interesting to me. Just 10 bids. Are the 10 bids reflective of the time of year that just nobody's really interested in buying?
It's October, man.
Yeah.
It's October. This is a convertible, and this really isn't that special. They are great cars, but there's a lot of them, and the people that want them buy them during the season. Most of the country, something like this is going to have to go in the garage in a week or two, so why bother? This is just not a very – there's, Phoenix, L.A., and here in Vegas about the only places that you could use a car like this, maybe Florida. I just think this car's DOA. Should have waited till spring, and I think it's a great car, but I wouldn't spend a lot of money for them. They're easy to find. What do you think of that result, Casey?
I think it makes it spot on with what we're saying, with what they go for. And I've also learned something about myself here right now and today. This is why I never win anything when I bid on a car on Bring a Trailer or something. I always think it's going to go for less.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing, you get caught up in bidding, and like you had mentioned earlier, there's got to be two guys in the room. There's two guys in the room, they're like, it's not going to go for that much. But then another $100, another $50, another $200, and then pretty soon you're like $10,000 over. Who knows? All right, what do you guys think of the results of this S2000? Do we have another car from the last show, Deep? I think we do.
One last car, JP.
Right.
Doug DeMuro was peddling a 1990 Range Rover Classic turbo diesel with a 5-speed manual that came into the country a couple of years ago out of Italy. JP, this was just kind of a neat spec car with the turbo diesel, the 4-wheel drive, and the manual transmission. I thought the car was kind of neat. But a lot of people are sort of scared of these cars. And it was interesting, JP, because our friends at Classic.com tell us that the average Range Rover Classic is a $25,000 conversation. But this is a gray market car with a turbo diesel and a manual. And for all the reasons I thought it was interesting, you got to wonder if they enhance the value or they deter from the value. JP, I thought that they would deter from the overall $25,000 average value. My bid reflecting that bearishly at just $12,500. JP, you reluctantly bid low at $16,999 because when Tim Neely gave us a bid of $20,000, you exhaled and said, oh, thank God. Yeah, I really think this car is worth more money, and I'm going to hold you to that. So, Casey, without fully spoiling the result of this thing, what do you think this little interesting Italian import might have hammered for on Cars and Bids just a couple of days ago?
I'm going to vote for this tickling some nerds' fancies, and I went for 32.5.
Very interesting. Again, everybody likes the car except the people that are registered to bid on Doug DeMuro's site. Deeb finally wins one this week because our car hammered for just $13,000 where it failed to sell. on a whopping 30 bids. So it got good action, but not enough to have two guys fight over it, ultimately up to the values that you all think that the car should have brought. But I don't know, JP, there was just something about this. I thought it was very, very interesting, but I didn't see anybody paying $20,000 or $25,000 for it.
It's just the wrong platform. It's just the wrong platform.
Yeah.
Doug DeMuro does not have enough people. He's good at selling weird stuff, but he's good at selling like weird JDM stuff or weird stuff that's well known. How I know that seems like maybe contradictory, but if you've got a weird, if you got a Defender, everybody knows what a Defender is, but these not so much, and especially with 3 pedals. I love this thing, and the 3 pedal thing would really turn some people on BAT, but there's just not enough people in the room on Cars and Bids. And that interior, he upgraded quote unquote those seats, and they just look so out of place. He should have gone with like
I see it now. The color is wrong,
right? And those pleats and stuff like that.
Initially I was thinking with the pleats, it's going to be all there, but I see the color isn't right. There's some other issues.
Yeah. Weird truck. I think it still had this. And the thing is, it is the right time of year for an SUV. We're going into fall. There's a lot of people that want something like this and want it right now. But if it didn't make it at that number, I see this thing popping up on BAT here in a couple of weeks, and I think it'll do much better. A second bite of the apple. But what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments. And we're going to go to commercial. Stick around, guys. We're just getting started with Casey, the car guy. We'll be right back. Hey guys, you're probably looking at your watch and wondering if Bid Nerds will ever end. So you better talk to our friends at Our Smiths to make sure your Rolex, Tag Heuer, AP, or any fine timepiece is in tip-top shape. Our Smiths. Fine Swiss repair.
And that's cool.
That's right. Our Smiths is, look, Anthony is our buddy. He's got us hooked up with these badass watches. These are Aviera, custom made. This one's like, I think there's 2 of these in the world. Deeb has his Aviera watch on. I don't know where he went. He knows that the commercial's only 30 seconds, but he had to go, I don't know. Maybe someone was giving away free Cheetos. Look at that. He's got his Aviera watch on, right?
Yeah. I like watches. I've actually been building my own lately.
Oh, look at that. Cool. Nice.
I'm a watch nerd.
Let's go.
Excellent. Let's go. All right. We got to get you out here in Vegas.
Anthony Vieira on line 2 for Casey.
That's right. You guys can chat watches all night long. All right, guys. Thanks for sticking around. We are just getting started. It's time for predictions. We've got Casey Putsch from Casey the Car Guy on YouTube. It's really cool having you here so far. You're kind of kicking our butt. So we're going to see how you're going to do on some new auctions.
Keep it rolling. Let's go.
All right, let's, hey, look, if you guys haven't hit the subscribe or like button yet, please do so now. If you're watching the show, if you're new here, you're here to see Casey, make sure you go into the chat and introduce yourself. There's some great folks in the chat, and you're going to meet some great new friends and have a really good time in there. We often wish that we were in there not hosting the show and someone else is hosting the show, so maybe we'll get Casey to take over the show and we can hang out in the chat. All right, let's get to the first car on the list. Deeb, what do we got?
All right, JP, it has been a while since we've covered one of these beautiful and exotic 2012 Lexus LFAs. Our car is running as a premium listing on Bring a Trailer out of Seal Beach, California, and is showing just 6,000 miles on the odometer. JP, I'm just going to say it. I think this car has a chance to do particularly well, not only because of the odometer, but also because it's not white or red or black. Is some couple of tasteful amenities that join this car. I shouldn't say amenities. What would I say? Just a couple of accessories that come with it. One, the stock wheels are included in the sale, but the wheels that are on the car are the Nürburgring edition wheels, which are really beautiful and look very handsome on the car, especially with the contrasting red brake calipers. This car also comes with the full set of the fitted matching luggage that was also an accessory for these cars. So being silver, having a low odometer, just number 180 out of the 500 of the V10 supercars that Lexus took almost a decade to build to celebrate their participation in Formula One and sort of drive home all the expense they put into building a V10 race car into a street car. The irony is that by the time the LFA dropped, Toyota was officially out of F1, but don't hold that against them. This car seemingly didn't hit when it was new, when you could order one or buy one at the dealership. but this car is aged really well, and the values have gone absolutely bonkers. Around $200,000 or $300,000 12 years ago when these cars were new. Today, they regularly bring $750,000 and up. And we are now seeing well over $1 million for the 25 or so Nürburgring editions that are part of the 500 build. So JP, I think this car has a chance to do really well. LFAs in general have been between $750,000 and $800,000. This car could certainly be at the higher end of that small window that I'm professing exists for the model. Tell everybody why this is the best sounding V10 of all time. And JP, I can't remember what your take
Not
is.
true,
So
actually.
Oh, Erica said the guy who owns a Viper. If
I got
Viper,
an even fire Gallardo with an X pipe back there that sounds
that actually
blows fire.
I would not bet against that being one of the best sounding motors of all time as
you
well.
See what he does
JP,
to me, Casey? He leads me in. He like he's got. It's time for him to pass the ball to me, but instead of just going, JP, what do you think? Or what? Blah blah. He just he like says, oh, you're gonna say this, or it's like being on mainstream news or something like that. I swear to God, what are we, CNN of cars? This is not best sounding
like
10. I don't like this car. I think it's neat.
Like it? Yeah.
I think this is like the SLR. I think this is the Japanese SLR. It is much ado about nothing. It's a really, I don't think so.
SLR is cooler than this.
Maybe, but they're going down in value, and nobody cares about it. Casey,
right.
what do you think of these?
They do sound
Put Deeb
pretty.
in his place.
There's some things I like about it, but I'm sorry, I'm going to tell the truth. I think it's kind of soulless. I think it's kind of a techie manufactured thing, not really handmade. We can wax philosophical about this sound all we want, but way overhyped. It just is. And I don't understand it. I'm not going to connect with it. And for all the numbers we were just talking about, I wouldn't own one.
Deeb, what's it going to bring?
All right, JP. LFAs have been doing really well in the secondary market. According to our friends over at classic.com, the average selling price of a standard LFA is $781,000 in the secondary market. John, our car has 3 days to go until it closes. It's currently sitting at $686,000. And that comes to us at the moment with 3 days to go by way of 13 bids. It feels to me like each year fewer and fewer LFAs are trading hands in the secondary market, or because they're so expensive, more and more of them are trading privately, and we just don't get to see what's actually happening behind the curtains. These cars are highly collectible no matter what anybody thinks about them. I'm going to go here to spite you guys. Initially, my bid was going to be $799,000, which I thought was a safe conservative tack. But since you guys both pooped on this car, I'm going to go all in and take the over, and I'm going to raise my bid to $825,000 because I don't think either of you chicken shits are going to bid over 800 grand. So I'll take all the real estate over 825 and give you everything underneath. So there you go. I'm being co-host friendly to you two nerds. $825,000 to you, JP, and then Casey will come to you for your number.
You know, here's the thing. This particular car has had only about a dozen bids, and it went from $100,000. I think went from $123,000 to $650,000. So we had a huge leap. A bunch of people were kind of trickling in. Oh yeah, I'll place my bid or whatever, just to see what's going on. And then one big. I think this is going to be a knockout punch. I'm going to take Deeb's number and beat him with it. I'm going to go $79,999, and he's going to be like, God dang it, you got a Yahtzee. And I think it's going to fail to sell there because I think the seller really is proud of himself. I think my favorite Casey moment was when he told Tucker that they shouldn't buy no one should buy any car newer than like 2000, and it broke his brain, and all the NPCs were like, what? Oh, the newer cars are better. It was just like he couldn't handle it. Casey, what do you think this thing's going to bring?
The old used car salesman line is there's an ass for every seat, and there's a lot of people that like these, and just because I'm an Italian curmudgeon doesn't mean that I wouldn't think it's going to go for $850.
$850. We should take the over. There you go.
Yeah,
Smart.
people are wild.
Yeah,
yep.
this one sets itself apart just enough. Casey could be right on the money and be staring at his first Yahtzee. on his first time visiting the nerds. All right, JP, that was a fun
That's just
one.
wishful thinking on my partner's. He doesn't care if he wins. He just doesn't want me to win. All right, let's move on.
Yes,
What's the next car?
That's
He's
exactly
like, hell yeah,
correct.
that's how we do this.
Absolutely. All right, JP, running as an alumni listing on Bring a Trailer is this gorgeous 1990 Ferrari Mondial T Cabriolet. Our car is listed out of Berkeley, California by the folks at Bohemian Highway, showing just 38,000 miles from new. JP, very nice car, very fair odometer. It's beautiful because it's not Rosso Corsa. The car has the 3.4 liter and the motor is going in the right direction. It's not transverse. These cars make about 300 horsepower, and whilst most Mondials are heavy pigs and don't really drive well, I'm going to assert that this car drives great. And our good friend Lucas, the bid turn, knows that. Even though he owns a 348, he poops on this car by saying it still requires an engine-out service. And that's the part of the reason why values haven't gone crazy. When it comes time to change the belts, you're in for thousands of dollars of man-hours, even though the part you're changing is a $400 piece of rubber. JP, our car did run on Bring a Trailer back in July of 2019. At that time, this is before mass adoption, our car sold for just $29,000. That data is not really useful, but the car ran again on BAT in July of 2020. And at that time, JP, the car sold for almost twice as much at $39,500. And it ran no reserve at that time out of Columbus, Ohio. So, JP, the car comes back to market. The assets are actually pretty nice. I know you're a big fan of these. It's black. Are you going to bid? Where you at, man?
Oh, yeah, I'm going to get one of these. Sure, why not? I already have a black and tan convertible. Look, this car is, what was it? Weird Science, and how many different movies had these cars in them? Weird Science, yeah. LA Law. My wife and I were watching old episodes of LA Law, and they, the supermodel pulls out, and she shows off. She's trying to get Arnie's attention, the guy, the blonde lawyer who drove the 911 in the show. Of course, you all remember that. Anyways, these cars were always compared to Porsches, and it was this car feels like it was that car that Ferrari was like, no, it's better than a Porsche, really. Let me tell you 50,000 times and you'll believe it. And they're just not. They're great. I love them, but get a 911 if you don't want to spend a lot of money. If you want a Ferrari, you're going to have to spend money. Get a better one. Casey, what do you think of this car?
I disagree with everything you just said.
That's all right.
I had a Mondial. I had the Quattro Valve Coupe Red Over Tan. And actually, I worked on nearly an identical car to this one, but was also a coupe in black over tan with the 3.4-liter 348 drivetrain. They're a great car. They're more luxurious than a 308 or 328 or 348 because it was the business hands Ferrari. So effectively, you're getting the same thing with just a little bit of a longer wheelbase, and you sit more in the nose, kind of like an early 80s Indy car. So I would say most of the poo-pooing that exists in the world about Mondials is from people who don't own a Mondial or appreciate it at all. So I just throw that all out the window.
Or now, people who have had one and have gotten burned by them blowing up or having a cylinder get stuck because a spark plug fell down in it. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off. I thought you were done.
Hey, you're not supposed to stick it in first gear going 100 miles an hour, okay?
Wait, what? Who says? Gosh darn it. Dang it, this guy's trying to tell me how to drive.
Teasing you. Let's see. Ooh, I'm gonna say.
Oh, you don't have to give a number yet. We'll give you last position. We'll go first. Yeah, we'll give numbers. You get the benefit of being last. All right, Deeb, what do you think it's going to bring? It is a nice car, though. I do agree that this is a nice car. I just don't think they're as good as a 911. But that's a whole different conversation. Deeb, what do you think?
All right, JP. Our car is currently sitting at $40,000. By way of 8 bids, and it has 2 days to go until it closes on Bring a Trailer. Our good friends over at Classic.com tell us that the average selling price of a Mondial T Cabriolet is $60,000 even. John, I think this car is going to do really well. It looks really nice in the pictures. I know it's the wrong time of year to be trying to sell one of these things, but I still think this car is going to ring the bell for, I'm going to give you $70,000 and say that it sells. I dare you to go over $70,000, JP.
All right, not gonna. I do think it's a really neat car. I probably will get one of these one day. I do absolutely love them, but I'm going to go ahead and say that it is summer and there's just not a lot of people. I'm sorry. It's going into winter. I don't think there's a lot of people looking for something like this. It went from $4,000 or $5,000 to $40,000. Another big jump in low amount of money. And then one guy comes in trying to do a knockout punch. I don't think it's going to get that much higher than that. I'm going to say $50,000 and hand it off to Casey. Now, what do you think?
I'm sticking with what I was thinking a minute ago. I'm going to say $56,000. I think there's people out there that are going to see this as a good example. I think black over tan, especially with the 348 drivetrain, is really the car because it's still masculine and cool being black over tan, but the convertible is a little nicer. Some of the other, Spiders or convertibles, the earlier ones, had kind of a girly vibe to them. This one's got more of a masculine vibe, so I think that's going to help it. But I don't see it getting wildly strong money, so I'm gonna say $56,000.
And gotcha. Why do you think it won't get really strong money?
People are weird, and the Mondial is cool, but in a way where I feel like you have to be able to kind of independently think and go against the grain confidently. And there's not always a ton of those individuals on auction sites.
Yeah, I mean, you start getting in the $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 range for Ferrari, and you can get a 348, and I think that's just a cooler car and with a lot more appeal. And that's another problem with these. This four-seater thing, as much as I like the car, I just don't think there's as much of an audience for it. But all right, we can go back and forth on this one all day. What do you guys think of the Mondial, however the hell you pronounce it? Let us know in the comments, and we still got a few more cars to cover. What do we got next?
All right, JP, a car that Lucas the Bid Turn selected for us over a week ago, running as a premium listing, is a car that Lucas thinks could set a new high watermark for the model. Feast your eyes, JP, on this beautiful dark blue 1994 Porsche 928 GTS with a 5-speed manual and only 9,000 miles on the odometer. A premium listing out of Lancaster, New York. This car basically, JP, just sort of rings the bell for all things that are rare. There was one commenter who broke down the production numbers and found out that there was only about 139 U.S. market 94 model year 928s. And of those 139 cars, basically 95 of them were automatics and only 44 of those cars were manuals. Of the 44 manuals, only 4 were painted midnight blue metallic. This particular car had the same interior as the other 3 as the classic gray. But there were a few other little things about the way the car was constructed that sort of set it apart. Add to that, JP, the spectacular condition and the low odometer. These cars have become, in the last 8 to 10 years, highly collectible, GTS manuals in particular. Now you're talking about a sub 10,000 mile odometer and a super rare shade with the midnight blue. JP, if ever there was a car that was going to ring the bell at the top of the value chain, it is this example sitting right here. So Lucas, thank you again for bringing this car to the Bid Nerds. JP, we have a very good friend in Las Vegas who has an 8,000 mile 95 GTS in black on black on black. That is a car that I will go ahead and say right now, if he decided to bring it to market with some fresh services, would probably be a $400,000 example. Ow. This car here, JP, is going to be damn near 300. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if it went over that number. So JP, tell everybody why the 928 GTS is the one to have. Or we go like Casey and say, you got to get one of the first year, like a 78 with Pasha interior and a dog leg 5-speed, and it's more analog. But these cars are really cool, JP. I am long torso. These cars don't work for me. My bald head rubs the headliner. But I think this car would be great for you, JP. I think it's kind of built to your size. What do you think, man? You like it or not?
Open the sunroof and stick your head out the top. What 2 cars were in Weird Science? A Mondial and one of these, man. These were the 2 cars that were, manifested by the hot chick that they made in their bedrooms wearing bras on their head. This is probably... Look, I think the 928
True story.
They're maligned by having been so cheap for so long. Most 928s are garbage. When you see one on the street or you see see someone driving around or you hear someone at the PCA telling you how they have one, they're always so excited to tell you about the car. How do you know someone has a 928? Because they'll tell you. But this is not your average bear. I think that a lot of people have a poor opinion of these cars because so many of them are so cheap and they've only driven crappy ones. When you do get a chance to get behind the wheel of one of these that it has been preserved, that is in good condition and does drive the way they did from back in the day, they really are truly spectacular cars. And I can see why Porsche thought that this car was going to take over as their flagship car and they were going to phase out 911s because these cars really are truly great. The 911 won, but here is one of the nicest 928s we've ever seen. Casey, what do you think of this car?
Yeah, with the 928 for me, it's either a real early one, like you said, with the dog leg and the Pasha, like I had in the past, or this thing. And this is the creme de la creme. It's a beautiful color combination. And the thing looks perfect. It really does. That's your last chance to get a brand new one. And to me, that thing's transcending even being the best of the best. And it's almost getting into a whole nother realm. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting. So I think it could go for something serious.
Yeah.
All right, Deeb, what do you think it's going to bring?
All right, JP. Over the past 3 or 4 years on Classic.com, we saw 195 manual with sub 10,000 miles bring over 400 grand at a live auction. So that would have included a buyer's premium. It didn't hammer at 400, but the buyer paid over 400 for the car. Since then, we've had 394 GTSs with teens of thousands of miles and manual transmissions, all bring a little bit under 300 grand. JP, I do feel like this car is going to fall in line with those top 3 results over the last few years, but we haven't had one for 12 or 15 months bring that kind of number. And because this car is actually under 10,000 miles and is a rare shade, it's again not black, white, or silver or red, it wouldn't surprise me if it rang the bell over 300 grand, which would then make it essentially the second highest price paid for one publicly that we're aware of. JP, it's interesting to note that back in 1994, this car hammered for $85,985. In 1992, you could have bought a 500E for $82,000. So it's really interesting that that was that premium price point in that $80,000 range in the early 90s. John, our car is currently sitting at $181,000 and it closes tomorrow. The 181 comes to us by way of 30 bids. So there's a lot of action in the room. There's a lot of people watching this car. And again, it is a premium listing. It is a rare shade. It is just 9,000 miles. Our friends at Classic.com tell us that 928 GTSs with a stick shift are a staggering $127,000 on average in the secondary market. For comparison, a GTS with an automatic is only 55 grand on average. JP, I'm all in on this car. I don't think it'll break 300, but I wouldn't be surprised if it does. My bid, $292,800. $292,800. $292,800 to you, JP. Essentially 110 over where it's sitting at now, and it closes tomorrow. What's your bid?
The nerd herd is coming in strong on this one. Everyone thinks it's going to be over 300. I'm with you. I don't think it breaks 300. I think it's just the wrong time of year. I think this is a special car. Yeah. It's really great. But what the hell? Auction. It's in October. Wait till Amelia Island for something like this. And I think that the owner has expectations that this car is going to do really well because it is a special car. And I think that the reserve is probably much too high for this car to actually sell. I think I'm going to give a bid at $250,928, and it's not because I think it's not worth more. It's not that I don't see the potential for this car going over $300,000, but if it does sell under $300,000, I think it's a really good opportunity for someone to sit on this car for 3-4 months and bring it out at Amelia Island and make some coin if the world hasn't ended by then. Casey, what do you think?
That is a tricky one, isn't it? I'm going to say even more. That's tough. You know what? I'm going to say 265.
Is that
Does it
your
sell at your
265? Are you buying this car? I have a feeling like you're like on how much would I?
No,
bid
I
for
would
this
never
thing?
buy this car.
You would never buy this car. You love this
never
car.
buy
You
this
just
car.
said you love this car.
I do, but I would never buy it because, and I'm just going to say it, I want to dog on it. You're not getting a good value for your money in that car. There's so many other far better cars and experience for that money. And there are so many cars out there that basically give you 99% of that experience for like 30 grand. Like, why would I buy that thing for a few hundred? It's silly.
Yeah, and on top of that, this car you cannot drive because it has so few miles. This has to sit in the collection and go to the museum.
Correct.
So this car is just basically a place to park the money if you're worried about inflation and you think, okay, I need an asset or something like that. Now I've already got too many houses. Here it is. All right, go ahead. Casey.
And that's totally fine. You know, that's totally fine.
Casey, I have a
in
question for
different realm.
Casey. Casey, if you get a Yahtzee, does the car sell at 265 or do you think it's an FTS? What do you think the seller is hoping for in relation to your bid?
I don't know anything about the seller. You know what I mean? And guys with egos like to put big reserves on stuff. So it depends.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go say, you know what? I'm going to say it's going to sell at 265.
Ooh,
Whoa.
interesting. All right.
Good deal. Good deal. And Casey, don't worry about not knowing the seller. Just close your eyes and make an assumption. That's what we do.
That's what I do. Yeah, that's the whole column. Yeah.
It's YouTube,
Hey,
man.
yeah, there
you go.
Maybe you've heard of it. All right. We're not done yet. We're just getting started. Casey is just getting warmed up. Here we go. We got a few
Absolutely.
more cars to cover. Next one, I'm pretty excited about this next one. What do we got, Deeb? This is a friend of ours car.
So, JP, our dear friend Chris Carbine of New Orleans, Louisiana, out there in Carbine Motor Cars, has brought to market, Casey, I think you're going to like this car. It is an E30 318 IS with an S54 engine swap and a 6-speed manual swap. This particular car is a slick top and has extensive modifications. I mean, you can basically see the stance. This car's got some suspension. It's got some wheels and tires. It's got the 318 IS really cool body kit. And now we've got a motor that who wouldn't want a S54 if I'm correct. That's the E46 M3 with individual throttle bodies. So we're talking at least 330 horsepower from the 3.2 liter inline six. And of course, they got the 6-speed manual and a rear wheel drive. I am digging this car. JP, our really good friend Sahan was seriously considering buying this car, but somebody bid $27,000 on it in the course of the auction. And at that point, Sahan was off the car, sitting here in California, thinking it would just be too expensive to bring it in. JP, a very cool car with some tidy-looking assets. I like what the photographers are doing for Chris down there in some of these beautiful brick alleyways. We're getting some very good assets from him, and the results of his cars starting to speak for themselves. JP, here's a really cool car with a punch to match its bark. Where are you at on an S54 318 IS coupe?
Oh, man. I am a huge fan of E30s. An S54 with a 6-speed swap is like this is the swap made in heaven. So often we see cars swapped with LS3s or this engine and that engine, engines that weren't really, from a different family of car. But here's a BMW that has probably one of the greatest engines of all time. That S54, a straight inline six that's just silky smooth. It doesn't produce huge amount of power, but it just produces just great, easy to use, wonderful power in a car this size. I'm a huge fan of the Z4M. That's a car that just was never really that popular, and I think is one of the best bangs for the buck out there. That's basically what this car is. It's, the Z3 was built on an E30 platform, and the Z4M isn't that much different. So this is just basically a Z4M with a classic body kit on it. Casey, what do you think?
I love it. I'd love to see a picture of the interior and the engine bay to judge it properly, though, because that usually is the proof in the pudding for the swaps. But the specs you're telling me of what they've done to it is perfect. Be it that it's a slick top, be it that it's white, be it that the body kit is very clean, it's not trying too hard. The car has. Oh yeah,
Yeah, right.
yeah. That does it for me. Let's see a couple more here.
Yeah, that's the CSL Airbox. It's got a Borla
Uh-huh.
catback exhaust with aftermarket headers. We've got a Cassell DME tune. We've got a lightweight flywheel, a Z3 short shift, 373 limited slip. It's got the E46 ZHP steering rack, ground control, adjustable coilovers, subframe
Gosh.
connectors, adjustable sway bars. This car's got everything, Willwood brakes and polyurethane bushings. No stone was left unturned, and yet you close the hood and it's still a wolf in sheep's clothing. God bless
I
us.
love
Yeah.
that it says
You see
318 on the
interior?
back. That is so awesome. Yes. Here we go.
Yeah.
Deeb, what's it going
Yeah,
to bring?
that is a cool car.
All right, JP. According to our friends at classic.com, we've got some absolutely useless information because a standard 318 IS is just $18,000 in the secondary market. John, our car is currently sitting at $28,250 on 15 bids, and our car closes tomorrow. Initially, I put $35,000 down as my bid, but this car's got $35,000 worth of parts and another $15,000 to $20,000 in labor, plus the price of your $18,000 car. I'm all in on this car, JP. I'm going to go, I kind of want to go 46, but I'm going to go $40,000 even and say, if you get it for 40 grand, it is still well bought. So $40,000, JP, and I'm only sorry it doesn't have a catalytic converter and I could register it in California. I need a daily driver. 40 grand to you, JP.
Yourself an LLC up in Montana. Chris,
Yeah.
we love you. What the hell? You got to hire a better detailer, man. Those vents were grimy. This car is so awesome. Boy, what's it going to bring? I just don't look. You couldn't build this car. It would cost you what, 80 grand to build
Almost
this thing?
100.
Yeah,
at
I
least.
mean, it's just insane how much this would cost these days. But people just don't pay for that, and that's why it's always best to let someone else build the car and you come in and swoop in and get it. I don't think this thing breaks 40 grand. I'm going to say 35,318 and hand it off to Casey. I hope it sells at that price.
That was my bid initially.
Oh, wait.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah,
Casey,
I was
what do you think?
initially at 30. I was initially at 35, but I'm at 40. Casey, it's 35,318 to you. Where you at?
Yeah, I'm gonna come in at 33.5, honestly. And the reason
wow.
being is I love the car, but there's a few little things that bring it down for guys that are gonna pick it apart that I think, it's always with cars, it's a telltale signs that you might judge the whole car if you're a really seasoned car guy. And for me, I'll judge especially older German cars by the seats. How nice are the seats? That's going to tell me something about its life, the attention to detail of the owner. And, these seats are nice. They have some patina, but they let the car down a little. And then also seeing that vent that was really dusty, that's going to make me as a buyer or bidder start thinking, yeah, how well developed is this thing? How well put together is it? Looking at the engine bay, it was pretty darn good, but it doesn't make me say, wow, this isn't. I don't think that this is the BMW version of a Singer. I think this is a really nice build, but I think there's some things that are going to hold it back from bigger money. So I'm going to say 33.5.
Some really great driving
All right.
videos. If you guys get a chance, make sure you go turn up the sound. And the car really does sound great, too. So I think that, Chris does a good job kind of selling the romance of this car. And, yeah, I think that you could definitely do better. But, it's kind of like a skyscraper, right? Like 60 floors costs X amount of money per floor. You get above 60 floors, you get to that 61st floor, and now it's like exponentially more money per floor.
Yes.
And I think this car has done this is a perfect 60th floor car. It's not a
Definitely.
70 floor car. It's just, but that's good enough, and that's great, and you can have a lot of fun and not have to spend $80, $100, $150,000, which is kind of what the driving experience is probably going to be like in this thing.
Correct. And I would every day, I say that car is worth more, but just by judging it on only the pictures and how, frankly, annoying I think people are with auctions when it comes into a custom car. People are kind of like a prey animal, deer. They frighten easy when it comes to custom things oftentimes. So, in that regard, maybe it's just me being a little jaded. That was my bid. But I think it's a tremendous car, and I think you could go into it for thousands of dollars more than that and still be absolutely happy with what you got.
Absolutely. Guys, if you haven't had a beer yet, John Claywolf is in the chat. It's time for the Miller Lite. So have a Miller Lite, and we're going to do a speed round really quick. We have one car left. Let's see if we can do it in under a couple minutes. What do we got?
All right, JP, currently on PCAR Market is a really beautiful, no-nonsense 2002 Porsche 996 Carrera Cabriolet with a 6-speed manual and just 39,000 one-owner miles on the odometer. Our car is presented beautifully in the very rare but 996 normal Meridian Metallic with a Metropole Blue interior. The IMS bearing was done, and the car has PASM Sports suspension. JP, our friends at Classic.com tell us that the average selling price of a manual 996.2 cab is $28,000 in the secondary market. The question here, JP, as our car closes tomorrow and is sitting at only $11,000 on 7 bids, is will our car get to a retail number, or will it stall out and wind up in the deal tank? I'm going to bet the latter because that's just what PCAR Market has done and trained their audience. My bid on the hammer is $21,996 for a car that I think is worth 28 to 30 grand, but won't hammer for that number because PCAR has just sort of ruined their audience. So JP, we're at 11. We close tomorrow. I think it'll hammer for 21,996, fail to sell, and wind up in the marketplace. JP, what's your bid on this pretty car?
That is a really tough bid to bid against. Yeah, it's PCAR Market, so it doesn't have much of a chance. Yeah, I'm going to go 19,996 and say this is a $25,000 car, but it'll probably be in the chum bucket for somewhere around 40. So what do you think, Casey?
I can't get my eyes off that dent on the left front fender behind the wheel right there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That bugs the heck out of me. The color combination's okay, but it's nothing that exciting. Based upon what I heard on PCAR Market and the other one, I think it's going to hammer in at like 18 grand. And I think they'd be selling it for like 25 or 26, like you mentioned.
Yeah, and that would be a great car. I mean, 30-something thousand miles with the IMS done and, 3 pedals. Yeah. It's a convertible, so you're getting a value. And this is probably the best and cheapest way you can get into a nice 911. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments. And Casey, thanks for hanging out with us. You're the car guy. I'm a little worried about on the next episode, see how badly you beat us. But,
I don't know about that.
Where can we find all the things for Casey the Car Guy?
Who, me? Yeah, I mean, just go to Casey the Car Guy on YouTube. If you type in Casey Putsch, spelled P-U-T-S-C-H, or Casey Batmobile, Casey Omega Car, or Genius Garage, that's the educational program I do for college engineering students for the last over a decade. We build ex-professional level racing cars and airplanes and get some unbelievable jobs. I got students everywhere from Tesla to Lockheed Martin because of it. So I'm easy to find and look up, and I'm always opinionated.
Casey, you were a great guest. Thank you so much for being a good sport and joining us. It was really fun to have you, man.
All right, guys, have a Miller on John Claywolf. He's buying. See you guys. What day is today? Today's Wednesday. We'll see you Sunday. Bye, everybody. Bye.